We are going on with the evolution of your soul. Thank you for being a part of my life, and I am a part of your life. Even though I'm sitting here in Florida enjoying the beautiful sunshine, I'm also a part of wherever you are. Because in God there is no time nor space. Everything is infinite. And since we all agree we're souls evolving, I would like to talk to you a little bit more about the evolution of your soul. A lot of you have texted me and wanted to know more about the soul. And I've been thinking about that and thinking about a way that perhaps I can explain the evolution of your soul to you a little bit better. And if you bear with me, I would like to talk about baking a cake. And this is for you guys too. You all know that when we have our birthday cake, we have our wonderful birthday cake with frosting and flowers and happy birthday to us on it. Our soul is a birthday cake, if you will. Now I'm going to explain that a little bit better to you. Say we're going way, way, way back in time. And let's pretend like you're flour. You are just a flour. And I do mean a flour for cake. You're a flour. And you realize and recognize that you're a flour. And there's a desire in you for more. So you find yourself a cup of sugar, and you add sugar to your flour. And as you move forward and you evolve more, you decide that your consciousness embraces, let us see, eggs. We're going to put some eggs in this cake. So now we've got flour, we've got sugar, we've got eggs. Now we have to think about what else do we need to make the perfect cake, the perfect soul. Well, we need to have also a liquid to pull it all together. So we're going to put milk in this cake. And we're going to now stir it up and let it all work together. And we realize we need some baking soda, and we need some baking powder, and we need vanilla. And now we're ready to bake our cake. Our soul is evolving, and it gathers different types of materials to grow from, to exchange the consciousness that we're in. So this is why I'm using the cake, because the cake has a lot of ingredients in it. And you as a soul have a lot of ingredients in you that has made up what you are. So this cake has all these ingredients to make it what it is. So now we're going back to baking a cake. And now this cake is ready to be put in the oven. We've mixed it up, we've put water, we've put flour, we've put all the ingredients necessary to bake a beautiful cake. Now we're going to put it in the oven, we're going to let it bake. And we're going to take it out of the oven, and here we have this lovely cake. Well, it needs some frosting. So now we have another process to go through. Now we have to go and put sugar and shortening and vanilla, and we're going to make frosting for our cake. Because we've got the form, which is the cake, but now we've got to add more things to the cake to give it the perfect deliverance that we want to have for our wonderful birthday cake. So now we have this wonderful frosting that we're putting on our cake, and then we need a few roses. And we can use our frosting and just put some food coloring in there, and now we can put roses on our cake, and we can say happy birthday, soul. Here we are, the perfect birthday cake. celebrating life, celebrating the joy of being alive, and the joy of being a presentation of something very beautiful. That's our birthday cake. Now, let us go back right now and think about the soul. Our soul evolves as it starts to wake up to itself. It is then the expression of God. Let me go backwards again and say, when God breathed life into us, we became simple consciousness. Simple. If I can say 1,000 simples, that's what I'll say of consciousness. Very, very minute consciousness. Very tiny. But as we evolved, we gathered different experiences. We became gas. We became vapor. We became part of the dirt. We became part of the vegetable kingdom. We became part of the animal kingdom. We've taken all these different forms. Thousands and thousands of forms that we've taken through the evolution of consciousness. Because it's about consciousness, it's not about human beings, it's about consciousness. And you are consciousness that takes on different forms. Just like when you were a stone, you had the form of a stone. And you were barely, and I'm going to say it very bigly, barely conscious. And yet, you were conscious. Metal, we become metal. We become all these objects. We evolve through all these systems of consciousness until we finally come to that point in our consciousness when we're ready to take on the body of an animal. And we become conscious of that animal that we are, and then we gather information, we gather impressions. They are impressions within the soul. As it moves, it gathers impressions of the different forms it's experienced. So you have experienced all these different forms until you've come to the form called the human form, the human being form. And now you have gone through many experiences as a human being, gathering understanding, gathering different impressions, different talents and abilities, and developed your intelligence. And as you've developed your intelligence, you've become more conscious, and more conscious, until there comes a time when it's time to move into a brand new state of consciousness. We call it super consciousness, God consciousness, infinite intelligence. Name it whatever you want. It's all of the above. And we are at the point where we are ready to come into that state of consciousness, to understand that and evolve through it too. So this is your opportunity, this lifetime, to work in the best interest of your soul. And the best interest of your soul is to move your consciousness to experience more experiences so that you experience the God consciousness, which is an experience. When you were a stone, you experienced being a stone, and you had very little consciousness. Now you have a lot of consciousness, but there's a lot more consciousness to enjoy. Right now you are an infinite consciousness in a finite body. I'll say that again. You are infinite consciousness in a finite body, trying to move into the larger consciousness that you are capable of growing into. Now, I started out talking about baking a cake, And you can see that there's a lot of different ingredients that goes into the cake to make the perfect cake. There's a lot of ingredients that goes into our soul to make the perfect soul that is evolving through time and space. And it needs time to bake, so to speak, to experience, to be in that state of being, to grow into the next state of being, to grow into the next state of being. Now, I've talked to you a lot about the evolutionary process today of consciousness, but in the process that you have been in, you have had many incarnations to bring you to the point that you are right now listening to me talk to you. You've had many incarnations to be here, be even interested in what I have to say. If you've stuck with me throughout this video, you are going to know that you probably are a very mature soul that has gone through many, many experiences and now wants the ultimate experience about going beyond the human form into the infinite form, the true identity, the truth of your whole beingness. So it's a process of illumination. It's putting light into your consciousness so that you can gather more awareness. And the more awareness you have, the more capable you are to work in the best interest of your soul. The evolutionary process teaches us that there is many steps, if you will, we'll call them steps, or some call it veils that have to be lifted. It's all the same thing. As one veil is lifted, another one appears to be lifted, and then another one appears to be lifted. And it goes on and on till we finally move out through the final veil and we become totally illumined with the truth of our beingness in God, in the infinite. We are no longer limited to finite beingness. When we were created as the soul, we were very finite. We were very, very, very finite and very, very, very extremely limited. You know, a piece of stone is very limited. It stays in a spot unless a human being picks it up and throws it somewhere. It's very, very limited. It has very little awareness. But now you are a human being and you have a lot more awareness. And by having a lot more awareness, you are able to comprehend intelligently a lot more. So why am I going on and on about evolution of your soul? Because in order to understand your whole self and the very many, many aspects of yourself, you have to understand your whole soul. Now, I started out talking about baking a cake, and we understood there was a lot of different ingredients in that cake to make it what it is now. There's a lot of different ingredients in you to make it who you are right now. And each cake that we could do, a sponge cake, we could do a chocolate cake, we could do a carrot cake. I can go on and on and on and on about all kinds of cakes that we could make by putting different ingredients in it. So you have your own special ingredients in your soul. And your time has come for you to look through the finite self into the infinite self and discover all the ingredients that made you up. You are a special soul. You are not like anybody else's soul. We are all different, but we all learn lessons and we all use those lessons for different purposes in development of our consciousness. So we are here right now learning to develop more consciousness, more awareness, more comprehension of our whole self. Because until you know your whole self, you're not going to know the truth of your whole being. Now, if we took that cake that we've baked, and supposing that we didn't know anything about what was going on in the ingredients, but we had the cake, and you would say, oh, this is a delicious cake, Jane. How did you make it? And I would say to you, I made it by putting flour and sugar and vanilla and shortening, blah, 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 blah. And this is what made up the cake. And you say, oh, can I do that too? Absolutely, you can too. But you're going to have to, do some work. The cake isn't going to be automatic. You're going to have to go and sift the flour and measure the sugar and blah, 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 blah to make the cake. Well, your soul, with all of its ingredients, when you get to a certain place of your evolution, you look at your soul and you see what made up the soul, what made up the consciousnesses, how you got to where you are. Before you can take the bigger leap to the infinite, because you would not understand the infinite unless you went through this process of being human. That's part of the experience of life, L-I-F-E, life. To live in the infinite. To live in the true identity, the super consciousness that you are. So, the next time you eat a piece of cake, a cupcake, whatever, know that that has many ingredients, just like your soul. It is made up of wonderful ingredients. But there's a time when we get to look at our soul, look at our many lifetimes, the process that we've gone through to become to who we are right now. At that moment in time and space, we are beginning to free ourselves from human beingness. We start to understand and unravel our many, many lifetimes that we've had. And we start to understand our whole self in God. This is the process. This is the true evolution of soul. This is what all the mystics talk about. All the masters that have gone before us have talked about the evolution of consciousness. And we are conscious that we are in the evolution of consciousness. So this week, I'd like you to kind of meditate on your soul and the many ingredients that it has been made up of to make you who you are today. I look forward to seeing you next week, talking to you, and being a part of your life and the evolution of your soul. Bye-bye for now.